Welcome to Crime Family. I'm your co-host, Katie, and I'm here with my siblings, Steph, AJ, and Lisa is back this time. So I'm going to jump right into our case this week. So we are recording this on May 11th, and this is a case that's still kind of unraveling. It happened just a few weeks ago, and so still missing. No answers really yet. So we just wanted to touch on this because it's so close to where we grow up. So it's Pictou County in Nova Scotia. And like I said, it happened just a few weeks ago. And the town is Lansdowne Station, Pictou County, which I had never heard of. It sounded familiar to me just because I think there's like a Lansdowne Station in Richmond, like a sky train station. So that's what like popped into my head. But I never heard of this in Pictou before. I guess it's just outside of Stewiacke. It's like 30 kilometers southwest of New Glasgow, 140 kilometers-ish outside of Halifax. So that's kind of the approximate area. So it was the morning of May 2nd, 2025. So like I said, just a few weeks ago, Lansdowne Station, Pictou County, Lilly and Jack Sullivan vanished from their home on Garlock Road. And Lilly is 6 years old and Jack is only 5 or only 4. Is it 4? Yeah. Their mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, and their stepfather, Daniel Martell, reported that they were asleep in the bed. So themselves, those two adults, were sleeping with their 16-month-old baby. And they were kind of like nodding in and out of sleep. It was the morning around like 10 o'clock when they finally got up. But they were just hanging out in bed with their baby. Both of them just kind of nodding on and off. When they woke up later that morning, that's when they discovered that their 2 older children, Lilly and Jack, were missing. And so I'm just going to put this out there. Let's like try and refrain from judgment right now because there's a lot out there about, like how could the parents do that? Like they seem suspicious. In interviews, they could say, oh my God, people are like, yeah, they definitely did it. I can see it on their face, but we really don't have enough information to know what happened. It's still super early on. And so even though you might think some situations are suspicious, like we really don't know. So we're going to not try and speculate anything right now because I feel like that just hurts the case when they're still missing and there's still searches going on. So we don't really have enough info to say either way. So Lansdowne Station is super rural in Pictou County, and I'm just going to like pop up kind of like a Google Maps image of it just to show you. I mean, you can probably picture what it's like super rural, surrounded by forests. I'll just show you the area. Okay. So yeah, it's just like a main street that goes through here, all surrounded by forests. There's like a few little roads, driveways, and so the houses are really far apart. And I don't know exactly where their house is, but yeah, it'd just be like down a driveway, and they had like a mobile home somewhere around here. And so a super scary place for little kids to just wander off because you don't know which direction they went in. Did they walk down the street? Did they go into the forest? I mean, it's really scary either way. And so, yeah, like I said, there's some like discrepancies, and this is kind of like where some of the speculation comes in from the public being like, oh, like how did I not know when the last time they saw their kids was, and oh, their story has changed. But this is what we know, is that they were last seen around 10 a.m. on May 2nd, and so their mother Malaya and their stepfather Daniel, like I said, they were sleeping, and Daniel says that he remembers Lilly coming in and out of the bedroom a few times while they were still in bed. And Malaya says that she could hear both Jack and Lilly like playing in the house, even though she didn't actually see them that morning, but she knows that they were there, like around what time, because she could hear them. They believe that the children quietly opened the sliding glass door at the back of the house and left without, telling them or waking them up. And the door, he says, is like silent when you open it. So, I mean, you wouldn't hear it even if you were in the same room, basically. And yeah, he said they could have opened that, shut it, and left without being noticed, especially since they were in the room sleeping at the time. He mentions that the children's boots were placed beside the door, and so they were missing when the parents got up to look for them, so they figured that they probably put their boots on. They both had rubber boots on. Lilly was wearing pink boots. She had pink sweater, pink pants, and Jack had little dinosaur boots that weren't in the house, so they're just assuming that they put them on when they went out. Daniel immediately starts doing a search in the surrounding area. He's looking down dirt roads and culverts. He's looking in the rivers and streams that are around. And of course they call the authorities almost right away once they can't find them in the direct area around their house. Malaya says that the children were not typically allowed to go outside by themselves. So it's not like they could just go outside, open the door, and play without telling their parents or without their parents being there. So it's not like them, she says, to just wander around the yard or outside by themselves. And she emphasizes that they always ensure that there's somebody watching them when they're playing outside. She describes the children as sweet and sociable, noting that they have a tendency to talk to anyone they met. So I guess she's saying they're not overly shy, and if someone did come up to them, they would have a conversation with them or talk to them. So once the authorities get involved, there is an extensive search that takes place right away. Of course, the RCMP takes it seriously because it's 2 little kids that have gone missing. The search involved 160 personnel. They had ground search teams, RCMP officers, search and rescue, canine units, and they had drones that were equipped with thermal imaging. But despite all of this, there really isn't any clues that they have found at all. There's some reports that there was a single boot print that was found, and they're saying that might be the only significant evidence that there is out there. Not much about this boot print either. I don't know if it's a kid boot print, if it's an adult, some random adult boot print. There's just a boot print. And they're saying that the harsh weather conditions and dense forest terrain have really made it difficult during the search. Because I showed you, I think I'm still showing that screen, am I? Yeah. So, yeah, not ideal, of course, in the area to be searching. And, so the RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, they have involved their major crime unit, and they are treating this case as suspicious until proven otherwise. And I guess I would say they're just treating it as suspicious, just that they're covering all the bases right away and not assuming that the kids just wandered off, but they're looking at everything just to be sure. Daniel Martel, who is the stepfather, has undergone extensive police questioning, and he has been actively participating in the search. The children didn't attend school the days leading up to their disappearance, which has raised additional concerns from the public. Some are saying, why weren't they in school? Were they really last seen on Thursday, or did something happen, days before? There's been different reports about when the kids were in school. Some say that they weren't in school at all that week. There's some saying that they were in school Monday, Tuesday, then Wednesday was actually a holiday. And then they were sick on Thursday, which would have been, was that May? Yeah, sick on Thursday and Friday.
Wednesday was a PD day here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, it was truth.
Professional.
Oh, I thought it was what did it say? Truth and Reconciliation Day? Was that May 30th?
September.
Or April 30th? Oh, okay.
No. Anyways, here in where I live, it was a day off because it was Professional Development Day.
Okay.
How can it be conflicted reports? The teacher, were they there? Were they not? The teacher would know, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think this is just other sources podcast, like I heard on a podcast say that they weren't there all week. But then I think the actual news is saying that they were there Monday, Tuesday, and then just off on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But I mean, I don't know if the police have ever come out and like confirmed any of that. I haven't found anything. But either way, it seems like they weren't in school for the whole week. And maybe the last time the school saw them at the latest would have been Tuesday. And then they were saying that they were sick. So I guess Jack would have been in pre-primary and he had a cough. And so they were both just kept from school. So, yeah, the RCMP sent out a vulnerable persons alert in the local area, which this is different than an Amber Alert. And I know like the family and the public were wanting them to send out an Amber Alert, but that's a little bit different because an Amber Alert is actually when there is strong suspicion that there was an abduction and they have like info about the abduction. This isn't the same as that because they don't know that it's an abduction. So it wasn't an Amber Alert, just a vulnerable persons alert. And this is what went out in that alert. It said, Lilly and Jack Sullivan of Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia. The Nova Scotia RCMP is asking for the public's assistance in locating 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack. They were last seen on May 1st on Garlock Road in Lansdowne Station, Pictou County. Lilly has shoulder-length light brown hair with bangs. She might be wearing a pink sweater, pink pants, and pink boots. And Jack has short blondish hair. He's wearing blue dinosaur boots. And anyone with information is asked to call the police at 902-485-4333. And yeah, like I was saying, there's been some questions about when they were last seen. There's been speculation about why the parents wouldn't have gotten up with the kids. Like what parent sleeps till 10 a.m. when they have 2 little kids running around their house. Like I said, try not to be judgmental right now. We don't know the situation. We don't know if like maybe this is just like a one-off thing. That both parents maybe had a rough night with the baby and they were just super tired, just fell back to sleep. And that's not something that normally happens. So the kids, it's just like a situation that they had never been in before. We don't know. So we're not going to like go down that path of like speculation right now. Cause like I said, it's super early on still. So yeah, the disappearance of course has like deeply impacted the local community and it's become national news.
Even like international news. Like I saw like a BBC article. I saw a CNN.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
article.
I read a BBC article the other day on this.
People. I think some magazine did it on. I saw some magazine report on it.
Yeah, it was like Newsweek. Newsweek did one. It was all over. So it's crazy that it's international news, but it's like when it's so close to where you grew up, and it's kind of weird. Like you said, we had never heard of Lansdowne Station in Pictou County
I have. I knew. Yeah.
I had never. I mean, and you said it's a SkyTrain
it is,
stop.
Yeah, it sounds just like we stop on the Candle Line. The Candle Line.
Lansdowne Station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a Lansdowne Station in Toronto too on the subway. So that's when I was like, well, first I saw like it said something about missing kids, Lansdowne Station. I was like, I thought it was like here. I thought I was talking about here, but it was in Nova Scotia. I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
I've heard of it, but
so
I've heard of it, but I wouldn't even begin to tell you where it was in Pictou County.
It said that so they go to the Salt Springs Elementary. So they live in that area.
That's super close to Pictou.
Yeah, so they live in the area where they would have been able to go to that school. Well, in here we call it the catchment area where different places that you live people go to different schools. So that's the school they went to.
And I mean their school was still like 20 kilometers away from their, like I looked it up and it's like, so about like a 15-minute straight drive. So on the bus it would have been even longer. But yeah, that's just kind of like how far it was.
So you showed them on the map, but I actually have a picture of their house, like a video picture of their house and what the backyard looked like. If I'm going to share that with you guys if I can. Just so you can get an understanding of what the backyard looked like and how they would have been able to like leave the backyard and what's surrounding it.
Yeah, and like, okay, while you're looking for that, like, we were just even talking to like our mom earlier, and she was saying that her and my dad were in the area, and they were talking to like search and rescue, and they said that if you want to help out in the search, like, you can like look down some of the dirt roads, like looking in the ditches, and so like that's how close to home it is. Like, my parents were even like kind of involved in the search, looking around, and she was saying like, oh, she's like scared if they ever found anything. It's just like a scary thing if you find these missing kids, especially, you know, if it's really not the ideal circumstance to find them, right? So they didn't find anything. Unfortunately, it would have been nice if anybody found anything.
So this is how, like, so you, as you can tell, behind it, this is their house that they lived in, and this is, if you zoom in, this is like the back deck they would have come out of right here. So the whole thing is surrounded with woods. But also, what's interesting, that the whole thing is fenced in. Yeah. So anyways, you can like see like the yard, like where but it's all fenced in. But I mean, kids are pretty crafty. They can get out of things. But anyways, I just wanted to show you like what the yard looked like. Like, and it is surrounded, its whole thing is surrounded by wood. So
yeah, so
very
pretty scary to think like if they wandered off, like where they would have went and how quickly things could have went terribly wrong. Because I mean, in other reports, there's like, it's like a marshy, like boggy area. So I mean, if they just have like little boots on, even if they stepped in and like their boots could have disappeared, and now they're walking without their shoes, right? So,
but like the backyard was fenced in, but the driveway wasn't fenced in. So that's irrelevant to me. Like, to walk down the driveway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm sure they knew like to walk down the driveway to get out of the yard. So it's, yeah.
And I know, like,
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, I know, like, a lot of people were like asking questions of why the police kind of like scaled back their search. It's not because they're like stopping searching. It's just that they want to like actually search more closely at the areas they've already did in case they missed something. Because
yeah,
oftentimes when you're like in a panic and you're in a hurry, sometimes you can like miss things. So
I think they probably wanted to get into the woods as fast as possible from the elements.
Yeah, and
stuff.
so
like if they find them as fast as possible. It's probably
so they're scaling back so they can have a more in-depth search of the places where they think is most likely they went.
But yeah, okay, because let's be honest now. It's been like 2 weeks. It's probably not like a rescue mission anymore. If the kids are out there, it's more of like a recovery. Sadly, that's just going to be like finding their bodies probably. So they're scaling back the search to look closer at other places where they might find the bodies. Because I think before it was like, let's just search everywhere, because if they're like calling their names, if they're alive, then they're going to find them in this like quicker search in a broader area. But now it's probably like they're not going to be there, or they're not going to be alive, so we got to search places where we might not have looked before, which is like sad, but it's, you know, that's the reality of it. Because you'd think like these are little kids, 4 and 6, they're not going to be traveling like miles and miles and miles and miles, right? They would have gotten tired and like stopped somewhere. They would have been in that area, and they just haven't found anything. So I mean, it almost makes me think like they didn't wander off. If they walked down that road a little bit, the wrong person could have just like driven by, picked them up, and then that's the end of that, right? So I don't know, like what are you guys thinking at this point?
And these are like young kids, so they don't have any survival skills like an older person would have if you're in the woods.
No,
right?
and they
so,
probably got lost instantly, and there's no way they just know how to turn around and retrace their steps, right? So, and of course they'd be like scared and just cold because the weather turned bad too, and yeah, I don't know.
And it's been pretty chilly here at night too, so
yeah, I don't know. I like at this point, my kind of opinion is that maybe someone found them walking down the road and didn't have the best intentions. Even though there's no evidence of an abduction, but there's no evidence of anything else either, so.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they scale back the search after so many times, because like you were saying, Katie, eventually, I mean, when you start off, when you're doing the initial search, like in your panic state of just find them, it's one type of investigation. But then after like, nearly 2 weeks, or we're going to be coming up on 2 weeks by the time this episode is released, like, it's a different kind of investigation at that point. It's not finding them in the woods. It's like finding out what happened, either finding their bodies, unfortunately, or getting more information that's going to lead them to possibly like a foul play investigation or something like that. And there's just frustrating when, I mean, it is still very early on, but there's just nothing really at all to go off of. And I guess going back to just one thing I was going to say, showing the house, like this case is all on like my algorithm, I guess now, because I'm seeing like real Instagram reels and TikTok videos of people talking about this case, just random people. And there is a lot of shaming going on. Like they're like, look at the state of the house they lived in. Who would live, like they must be guilty of something because they're having their kids live in that. And there's a lot of people in the comments of those videos who are defending the parents a bit and saying like, if you don't know, there's a lot of poverty in rural Nova Scotia, or just in rural places in general, but there's a lot of poverty. So it's like talking about the condition of the house that they were living in or their backyard. It's not very helpful, but it's just like, what are you doing? That's not going to help the investigation at all.
Yeah, it doesn't mean,
so it's just sad.
Doesn't mean it's not like a loving home and the kids are happy and like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck off.
Yeah, like they lived in like a trailer in rural Nova Scotia with a lot of stuff in the yard. Okay, maybe they weren't well off. They're maybe living in poverty, or you know, I just think it's like what's the point of pointing that out or dogpiling on them with that? It has nothing to do with where the kids are now at all.
We've seen multi-million-dollar families, you know, with kids go missing, and you know, like what is that? What one have to do with the other? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like their yard was fenced off, so it was not like they had to open like to the woods, right? Like they had some sort of like measures to keep kids in, keep animals and people out. They had that fence, and yeah, I mean, as far as we know, the parents did everything they could, search around, call the police right away. It's not like they were sketchy and like didn't do anything, right? So I mean, even there is speculation out there and people are like ripping on the parents hard about certain things, like you can pick apart any case about anything you do and like pick apart people. So yeah, until we know that anything sketchy happened, we're not going to say anything about it. If we know that the parents were involved, then, you know, that's when we can shit talk. But
it kind of goes back to
not until then.
Well, not really, but sorry. It kind of goes back to like the age of degree thing where her parents, like she walked out in the middle of a snowstorm. We could be like, oh, why are those parents not watching their children walk out the door in the middle of a snowstorm? Like, what kind of parenting are they? Like, you know what I mean? Like, any kid could like wander. If they can open a door, any kid could wander off.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's happened. It happened to people
my
we know.
Kids,
yeah.
Both my kids, like, they can open the door when it's not locked.
Me and AJ did. When we were little, we walked down the
That's what I was thinking
park.
too. Yeah, like two little 3 and 2-year-olds walking down the street to get some ice cream. And
like, it can happen to anybody. It's not like...
Yeah, like like what Dad had fallen asleep babysitting us, and Lisa and I just in our diapers walked down the street to go get ice cream at the dairy bar. And
like,
you know, it just in our case, it was like people that knew us and knew the family and were friends were the ones who spotted us and figured it out. But
like, I can sympathize with those parents. Like, they were exhausted from trying to like been up all night with like a 6-month-old.
16 months.
Already have 2 young kids. Oh, sorry, 16-month-old. And they had like 2 young kids as it is. Like, it's exhausting. And maybe they just needed some extra sleep. And because the house was fenced, or the backyard was fenced in, they wanted to go outside and play. Like,
yeah, and especially if the kids knew and like didn't usually just go leave the house on their own. Like, it's not like the parents knew that they were a flight risk, right? Like, they usually would and they could hear them playing. So you'd think like, yeah, like just going to stay in bed for a little bit. Maybe they didn't mean to completely fall asleep, both of them, but...
Yeah, like maybe the kids, they play outside in the backyard all by themselves all the time. And they know not to go down the driveway. And the parents know that they've never done it before, so why would they do it today?
Like, this has nothing to do with bad parenting. This has nothing to do with the parents themselves. It has to do with 2 young kids missing, and we need to find them. Like, I don't know why people are so like hung up about like the way their appearances, the way the house looks. Like, when you look at those 2 pictures of those kids, nothing tells me that they're living in a house that's falling apart. Like, they look happy, they look healthy. Like, it has nothing to do with the parents and the way the house is. Like, I don't know why people are so hung up.
I know,
on
it
that.
doesn't help the case, the situation at all. Like, it's not going to help them find the kids by ripping on the parents. So, yeah.
And of course they had to interview the father, because they normally interview parents when kids go missing anyways. It's the first people they look at.
Yeah, and he's been like
It's
cooperative
parents.
and he's like been trying to help. So, yeah, it's not like they're...
And he asked for a polygraph
Yeah.
test.
He's not like he's acting sketchy.
No one
Yeah.
should ever take polygraph tests. Let's just be clear on
No.
that. Never take
No,
one,
that's true.
sir.
Mm-hmm.
It's never
going to
work
he's
out.
willing to,
regardless.
like, shows that he's, doesn't really have anything to hide, probably. So, yeah.
Like, yeah, I feel bad for them, because it's like they're trying their hardest to find these kids, and he wants to know he wants more done for the search to happen, and he wants to find his kids, and then all these people all they care about is like how scrubby he looks or how like the backyard looks. Like, who gives a fuck about what their person?
So what would be? I mean, what's worse, like finding something of them in the woods, or they just never find anything? Like, what would
I know.
It's what would they?
That's all,
What would they rather? Like, they're out there somewhere, like someone took them and they're alive and well, you don't know, or you find something in the woods. I don't know.
well, yeah, that's what people say in like missing persons cases. Like, they almost want to find them so at least they know what happened, right? They know that they're not like suffering or scared anymore. They're like, even if they're dead, they know where they are. At least they have closure, which is obviously not the ideal outcome. But yeah, not knowing forever, like, that's the worst. And especially when it's two little kids,
Like,
it's not good, right? So,
and like we always say, like, nobody has there's no perfect reaction to what happens when your kids go missing or when anybody goes missing. They're always thinking, oh, these guys seem sketchy because the way they're acting is like, well, how would you act if your kids went missing? Like, you don't know.
It's like, oh, you didn't cry enough, and then you cried too much. You put it on a show.
Yeah,
You
so
didn't
it's
say
like
too much.
you
You didn't help at all. You helped too much.
I know we talk about this all the
Like,
time.
there's
Doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah, there's no winning. There's no winning, so don't even try.
I know. When I first heard about this case, like, in my back of my mind, I'm just like, yeah, you're gonna hear tomorrow that they found them in the woods, like they were just like playing down the road or something. But yeah, I really didn't think it was gonna be this, like, 2 weeks later and they still hadn't found them. Like, I really thought they were gonna be found. So yeah, it's sad. Like, oh, it's hard to think, like, especially when you have like little kids in your life and yeah, it's sad. So
one of the theories I thought, and then this can be kind of like depressing, because where they were and like all the area, like my only thing was like a bear or like a larger animal had gotten them. Do you know what I mean?
Something. I see.
Yeah.
Something.
that was my reaction too, because you hear when like
Yeah.
an animal attacks someone, there's always something left behind, like the clothes or like, this sounds bad, but like pieces, right? There's always something. They're not just gone without a trace, because animals aren't going to completely cover their tracks, right? So there'd be like their boots or their clothes or something.
Yeah. And they haven't found anything, right? Like no pair
Nothing,
of clothing,
nothing at all.
nothing at all. And there's no witnesses, obviously, of anyone who's ever said they saw
No,
them.
there've been
walking
no
down.
sightings at
No,
all.
Obviously.
So yeah.
And that's why
So weird.
they don't want to, but that's why they're gonna, if the search goes nowhere, they're gonna bring in cadaver dogs, because then they might be able to, hopefully not, but maybe they'll be able to find them, because that's what cadaver dogs are trained for, right? So let's hopefully that doesn't.
Is there any obviously I don't know the area, even though I grew up not far from there my whole life. But is there any bodies of water like right around there, or it's just woods, or like there's nothing?
I think there
I
I
is.
guess obviously they would have
is,
searched
yeah.
better.
That river, but I've never heard it. It's can't remember the name of the river that's right there, but there is a river there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bring up this thing
I
again.
checked. Started with an M, I thought, but yeah, I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, it's hard to like see on this map here, because like this looks like a little lake or something. I don't know how far away that is from them, but they said like the father had done like searches. He was looking in ditches and culverts and rivers, so there is like water around there flowing somewhere. So I mean, yeah, it could even be up here. Let's see. Yeah, there's a middle river of Pictou, So, yeah, that's definitely a possibility as well. So yeah,
Yeah. And I'm sure they're like looking into all that.
Oh yeah, I'm
assuming.
sure they've searched those areas.
As a
Yeah,
possibility.
like I was saying, I don't know how close like that river would be, and if they could even travel that far. Because there's little kids, but yeah,
My thing is they didn't travel very far
because
because
they're just little
they're
kids with
so
little
young.
legs, and like have you ever tried to like go for a walk with a kid? Like you're gonna get like maybe 5 minutes down the road, and they're gonna be done.
At first, I was like,
And it's the middle of the day, right? It was the middle
in
of
the
the day,
morning,
like broad
yeah,
daylight
like
too.
10 in the morning-ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
like at first I'm like, oh, like I heard stories of miracles of kids surviving like 5 days eating leaves or whatever, that one story. I'm like, oh, maybe that's them. But now it's gone on to the point where it's like, well, it can't survive that long.
Yeah.
It's just two of them.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like, this is like maybe off topic, but just, have you ever, there's a Netflix documentary about the kids in the Amazon who were like in a plane crash and they were the only survivor, like 4 siblings. And they survived in the Amazon for like however long by themselves, like close to a month or something. So I was thinking that, and I obviously I forget the ages of those kids and stuff, but that's what I was thinking of, like if there's just in any hope that there would be some possibility if the two of them are still out. I mean, and luckily it's not, yes, it's like spring and it gets cold at night, but it's not like dead winter, like January or something like that, where there'd be even less of a chance
But then it's like
to survive in elements.
it's like they would be found by now, though. Also, I think.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what
all
I'm
the-
thinking too. Especially if they had like dogs out there
Yeah,
searching their
like-
scent.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah.
I think there was one report where it was like the dogs tracked them to the end of the driveway, and then they just couldn't find them anymore. Makes me think someone picked them up at the end of the driveway.
like what are the chances? Just that that same second,
know.
that creep loser was driving down the street. You know.
I know.
Yeah. And we've seen this in other cases too, where they'll bring scent dogs in and the scent always just ends. And they always say really the only explanation for that is to get into a vehicle and go. That's the only way that, I think the only way that your scent would.
Yeah, or unless you like
just stop out
levitate
of
up into the
nowhere.
air.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah,
It's-
it
yeah.
is a vehicle.
So
Yeah.
between those two
Unless they
options.
got in a helicopter. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So there's just no way. It has to be a vehicle. They didn't continue. Well, my theory, I don't know. They couldn't have continued past that if the dog didn't sense them past the driveway. So I don't know. Super weird. Super sad, ultimately, too.
Yeah. So definitely gonna just keep following this case, and if there's anything like breaking that happens, we'll probably have like a little update episode or posts or something about it, just because like I'm super invested in this now and I need to figure out the ending, as sad as it might be. So if you have any tips or anything that you'd want to share to help in this case, any information, you can call 902-485-4333. And yeah, so that's all we have on this case for today. And this case is actually super similar to the case that we're going to be doing next week. A little boy went missing about 5 years ago in the Nova Scotia area, the same Pictou. Was it Pictou County? No.
Truro.
Okay,
It was in
Truro.
Truro.
Yeah, which is still outside of Pictou, outside of Halifax. Yeah, Dylan Ealer. So this is another sad story that we're going to cover next week.
So yeah, that's it for this episode. You can find us on all the social medias. So you can find us on Instagram, Crime Family Podcast, Facebook, Crime Family Podcast, and TikTok, Crime Family Podcast. And if you want the video version of the episodes, you can watch that on YouTube. So just go to type in Crime Family Podcast on YouTube. You will find us. Make sure you subscribe, comment, do all the stuff. And also on Spotify, we have the video versions as well. So if you are a listener on Spotify, you can watch the video version there too. And also crimefamilypodcast@gmail.com. You can email us if you have any suggestions, feedback, any of that stuff, or just telling us how much you love the show or whatever it is. But also I will say, if you have any information or think you have information, do not email us. Email or call the number that we give you in this episode. We've had, sometimes when we do cases, people will like email us and say that they think they know information or they like mention names of people, and it's like, well, we are not involved with law enforcement or the investigation, so we cannot do anything. If you have a tip, best to provide it to the people who are taking tips on the case. So I will say that. But yes, thank you so much for listening. And like Katie said, we'll be back next week to discuss a case from the similar area and a similar case that happened 5 years ago. So take care until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.